Saskatoon's real estate market is often flying under the radar, and here's why you should take notice. Mortgage payments here only take up about 26% of household income, making it one of the most livable cities for tenants and homeowners in Canada. With steady growth, exciting development projects, and a tight rental market, Saskatoon is shaping up for a solid bet on long-term investment. If you are thinking about investing, selling, buying, or relocating in Saskatoon, send me an email. My info is in the description below. The average house price in Saskatoon stands around $390,000 right now, whereas in Toronto, you are over $1 million, and in Vancouver, you're closer to 1.2. Across Canada, incomes don't change that dramatically, however, and the average right now is around $68,400. When you take that into consideration, about 70% of household income is put towards mortgage payments in cities like Toronto and Vancouver, where in Saskatoon it stands around 26%. Even with the national average of house prices considering around $780,000, that's still 10 times more than your average income. In Saskatchewan, it's about 5.7 times the average income. In Toronto, it's 15.8 times the average income for the house price, and in Vancouver it's 18.3 times the average income for the house price. Saskatoon's unemployment rate is also among the lowest in the country, currently at about 4.7%, below the national average of about 6.6%. We are also one of the fastest growing major cities in Canada, with a growth rate of about 2% in recent years and a current population of around 347,000. Some of the current developments in Saskatoon that display confidence and optimism include the Beto Towers in downtown City Park area of Saskatoon. This project consists of two 25-story residential towers. This project is located at 410 and 420 5th Avenue North, is close to downtown Kinsman Park and other areas. The development includes 426 residential units across 554,000 square feet, making it one of the largest residential developments in Saskatchewan. The new arena has already been announced for downtown Saskatoon and will be a multi-billion-dollar project. This will be the centerpiece of Saskatoon's downtown event and entertainment district, replacing currently SaskTel Centre. This development will include an arena, a convention center, some shops, restaurants, and of course entertainment spaces. There's already $42 million worth of invested land that's been acquired near Midtown Plaza. It will also be integrated with the city's future bus rapid transit system. And if you look at what River Landing Development has already done for Riversdale neighborhood, just imagine what will happen around 22nd Street and throughout the downtown core once these developments come into play. And don't forget about Saskatoon's new library project coming in downtown. This will be a multi-million-dollar project which will bring exciting new developments as well to the downtown core. Many real estate investors have their eye on Saskatoon as a safe haven for investment. Yes, we have steady growth, but we also do have a balance of industries between farming, mining, technology, oil and gas, and of course the University of Saskatchewan. Because we do have steady growth here and less volatility, it's more of a cash flow investment versus a speculative investment, which definitely does help investors sleep at night. The vacancy rate right now is hovering around 2%, which makes it a very tight rental market and a very competitive market with the advantage to the landlords right now. And if you look at the growth in Saskatoon over recent years, there was an increase of brand new construction starts for new houses at 23% more overall than what we saw last year. If you break it down, the single family housing starts increased by 39%, where the multi-family housing starts increased by about 28%. If you look at pricing in Saskatoon at pre-pandemic levels to today, as compared to all of the rest of areas in Canada, it's increased by 20%, which means, yes, it's increased, but not nearly as much as most other areas. And that also means we still have a lot of room still to grow. Now, to give you a bit of an idea of what you get for the money in Saskatoon and some examples of investments here in Saskatoon, one of which would be the house with a basement suite in the core areas on the east side of town. This would be a quality investment. Now, there are large ranges from one neighborhood to the next in terms of what you get in terms of quality for the product, but generally speaking, this product would cost around $450,000 today, and the renovations and the current condition of the property would range depending on the neighborhood. It may or may not be a legal basement suite, but generally speaking, this type of product will perform at around somewhere between a 5.5% cap rate to a 6.5% cap rate. The tenant profile for this would be young professionals or university students, typically sometimes families. Another product which is actually much easier to find these days as compared to the $450,000 range because it is so competitive, especially in the core areas right now. An alternative would be the newer product, which is only about 5 or 10 years old, but it would be in the suburbs and it would cost somewhere around $550,000 and almost always has a legal basement suite. And it would generally perform around a 5.5% cap rate. Now, the west side is generally a lot more affordable and has a lot more of a working class tenant profile when compared to the east side. Prices on the west side, generally speaking, are oftentimes 10% more affordable than what you would see on the east side. The side-by-side duplexes on the east side are getting a lot more expensive, where you'd still only see about a 5% capitalization rate, and it's still an older product. However, if you're going to live in one side and rent out the other side, it can be a very good option for a house hack. On the west side, however, these types of investments can still perform reasonably well at around a 6.5% or a 6% cap rate, and these buildings would cost you somewhere on the west side around $400,000 to $450,000, depending on which neighborhood you buy in. In Saskatoon today, one of the new recent updates is you can now build a fourplex on a 50-foot lot here in Saskatoon, which now makes new construction on the rental market a lot more affordable as well. And when the lot prices on the west side are significantly reasonable, it can be another great option to get yourself into a cash flow property than a very high quality product. Multi-family apartment buildings on the west side in the inner city can perform around 6.5% to an 8% cap rate. These are typically older buildings around 1950 to 1970s built. You will see similar product on the east side. However, the cap rates are much lower because it's such a competitive market for that type and style of product and can be more of a cash heavy type of investment. Commercial properties for investments are a lot less frequent in general. I think that the resale side of things can typically be a better investment, but you really need to be creative when you're looking for commercial property. Whereas on the new construction side, as we'd mentioned as well before, there is more available product, especially if you can buy in those higher price ranges, but the cap rates are oftentimes smaller. And if you are looking to invest significant sums of money in the commercial development space in Saskatoon, it's often common that you need to go out and create the product yourself, build it yourself, or find a builder, because the product is really tight in our market and it also doesn't have a huge volume available just due to the fact that we are still a smaller city here in Saskatoon. For land development projects and investors, you can make money if you're investing in acreage community around Saskatoon, and we have seen it happen many times before. However, you do need to be cautious and careful as to where you are putting your money. Where we've seen investors do very well, but we've also seen investors do very well, but on a much longer time frame. Because Saskatoon City is more of a steady growth based market, you don't have that volatility, so you don't have the high ups and the high downs where you could see your money tied up in a land development project for much longer than originally anticipated. However, of course, it can still make money. It is a speculative investment. Let's break down the rents for an east side rental in the suburbs for around that $550,000 purchase. The main floor suite would be a 3-bedroom suite, and the double detached garage would be included in the rent for the main floor, and it would rent for somewhere around $2,300 per month. And then your 2-bedroom legal basement suite would then rent out for $1,500 per month, with a total gross rents of $3,900 per month and approximately 5.5% cap rate. Those buildings are, like I said, only around 5 to 10 years old and are a very good quality asset with a very strong tenant profile. If we look at our 1970s build for an apartment block on the west side, that as an example would be around $1.2 million. And here let's break it down as a 17-unit building. You would have 7 2-bedroom units, which would each rent for about $925 per month. You would have 6 1-bedroom units that would rent for about $825 per month. And then you would have 4 bachelor suites, which would rent for about $725 per month, for a total gross monthly rent of around $14,325. Now, after expenses on 1.2, your cap rate in that neighborhood would be around 7.5%. Here's an example of a house flip in Saskatoon. Purchase an 1,100 square foot bungalow with a basement that has a structurally compromised wall. The purchase price is around $245,000. It takes 3 months to renovate and repair the basement, get the engineer's drawings and stamp of approval, add in a basement suite, add in 2 bedrooms, renovate new flooring, new paint, new shingles, new doors, new baseboards, etc., and then turn around and sell that property for $400,000. If you are thinking about buying, selling, investing, or relocating in Saskatoon, send me an email. My info's in the description below. Otherwise, have a lovely, fantastic day, and I will see you in this video next.